Have you ever wondered why two people with the same background, education, and opportunities can end up living drastically different lives? One becomes a leader, the other stays stuck in mediocrity. One pushes boundaries, the other remains afraid to try. The difference isn't luck, it's not talent, it's belief. What you believe about yourself, your world, and your future quietly determines every decision you make. It's the invisible force behind your habits, your confidence, and your expectations. And yet, most people never stop to examine the beliefs guiding their lives. From childhood, we absorb messages, some empowering, many limiting. You're too much. You're not enough. Stay small. Play safe, fit in. These beliefs dig deep roots, shaping how we view ourselves and what we think we deserve. Even worse, they operate silently. You don't even realize you're being held back by belief until you try to stretch beyond it and feel the invisible resistance. Think about it. How many dreams have died before they even started because someone believed they weren't smart enough, strong enough, or worthy enough? How many people go through life playing roles that don't reflect their true identity? Just because they believe they have no other option. Your belief system is either a cage or a key. The real danger isn't in what the world says about you. It's in what you start saying to yourself and believing. If you don't consciously choose your beliefs, you unconsciously inherit them. And what you inherit, you live. But the truth is, beliefs can be challenged. They can be rewritten. And when they are, your entire life shifts. Because when your beliefs change, your choices change. And so does your destiny. Belief is the silent architect of everything you experience. Change it and you can change everything. Every person walks through life carrying an invisible map, a framework that quietly guides their choices, actions, and expectations. This map is not drawn from facts or logic alone. It is built from beliefs. Beliefs about who we are, what we're capable of, what the world offers, and how we fit into it. These beliefs are so deeply embedded that they often go unchallenged, passed down from family, culture, religion, and personal experiences like unquestioned truth. Yet they hold incredible power, shaping not just how we see the world, but how we live within it. At its core, a belief system is a set of assumptions that form the lens through which reality is interpreted. It's not what happens to us that defines our lives. It's what we believe about what happens that determines the outcome. For instance, two people can face the same rejection. One views it as a failure and quits, while the other sees it as a redirection and grows. The difference isn't the event, it's the belief attached to it. Belief becomes the filter that colors every experience, every opportunity, and every obstacle. What makes belief systems even more significant is their ability to act without our conscious awareness. They shape our behavior and mindset on autopilot. People remain in unhealthy relationships, toxic jobs, or self-destructive habits, not because they want to suffer, but because at some level they believe they deserve no better or that change isn't possible. This silent influence can be more limiting than any external force. However, belief systems are not fixed. They can be examined, confronted, and transformed. By identifying which beliefs serve us and which sabotage us, we begin to reclaim control over our direction in life. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. When we become aware of the thoughts that shape us, we open the door to intentional living. We start to live by design rather than default. Our beliefs determine our capacity to dream, to act, and to persevere. The quality of our lives, in many ways, is a direct reflection of the quality of our beliefs. To understand the power of belief systems is to unlock a hidden lever within the human experience. It is to recognize that lasting change doesn't start in the hands or the environment, but in the mind. What we truly believe, we eventually become. And the beauty of that truth is that we are free to change what we believe. The greatest limitations people face are not always external. They're often internal, rooted deep within belief systems that have been formed over time, sometimes without conscious choice. These belief systems become mental boundaries, quietly defining what is possible and what is not. The challenge is that most individuals never question the origins or the impact of their beliefs. They simply accept them as truth, living within invisible fences that restrict their growth, happiness, and potential. From a young age, beliefs are shaped by authority figures, societal expectations, cultural norms, and personal experiences. A child who is constantly told to be quiet may grow up believing their voice doesn't matter. Someone who fails early in life might conclude they are incapable of succeeding. Over time, these thoughts solidify into identity. This is who I am. This is just the way life is. Or people like me don't get to do things like that. These internal narratives begin to operate beneath the surface, influencing every choice and reaction without being noticed. This is where the problem lies. When people accept beliefs as absolute, they become prisoners to them. They may have dreams but never pursue them. They may desire change but sabotage it at every step. Not because they lack ability or opportunity, but because their belief system doesn't support it. The mind cannot act beyond what it believes is possible. So even when new paths are presented, people remain stuck in old patterns because the belief blueprint hasn't been rewritten. Another challenge is the comfort of familiarity. People cling to limiting beliefs because they offer predictability, even if they produce pain. Change feels risky, and challenging beliefs can feel like betraying the past, the family, or the culture that instilled them. So many settle. They learn to cope instead of change, to endure instead of evolve. This quiet resignation becomes the norm. The result is a life lived beneath potential, full of untapped talent, unexplored possibilities, and unrealized purpose. The challenge is not the absence of dreams, but the presence of a belief system that says you can't, you shouldn't, or you're not enough. Until that system is exposed and confronted, true transformation remains out of reach. The problem isn't the dream. It's the belief that says the dream is unreachable. That belief, not the world outside, is the true obstacle. Belief systems are not random. They are constructed through repeated exposure to ideas, experiences, and authority figures. Over time, these ideas settle into the subconscious, where they silently influence behavior, perception, and decisions. What makes belief systems so powerful is that they often operate without conscious awareness. Most people don't even realize that what they believe is shaping their entire life. They assume they are making free choices, when in fact, they are often acting out the programming of their past. Consider how beliefs influence identity. If someone believes they are unworthy, every opportunity they encounter will be filtered through that lens. They might downplay their talents, hesitate to take risks, or avoid environments where they feel exposed. Not because they lack skill, but because their belief tells them they don't belong. Conversely, when someone believes they have value and potential, they show up differently. They take initiative, embrace challenges, and recover more quickly from failure. Beliefs also determine how we interpret experiences. Two people can face the same setback. One views it as a sign to quit. while the other sees it as a lesson to grow. The difference isn't in the situation, but in the underlying belief. One may believe failure means personal inadequacy, while the other believes failure is part of the journey to success. This inner framework becomes even more evident in relationships, careers, and spiritual life. A person who believes trust leads to pain will struggle to build meaningful connections. Someone who believes wealth is evil may unconsciously reject financial progress. A person who believes life is meaningless will find little motivation to improve themselves or contribute to the world. However, belief systems can be reshaped. The brain is not fixed. It adapts. New information, consistent repetition, and intentional reflection can create new neural pathways. When a limiting belief is confronted and replaced with truth, it loses its power. This process doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with awareness. Once you identify the belief, you gain the power to challenge it. Breaking old beliefs requires courage and persistence, but the reward is immense. Freedom, clarity, and the ability to live a life aligned with your true purpose. Change happens not by trying harder, but by believing differently. When beliefs evolve, behavior follows, and so does destiny. It all begins in the unseen realm of thought, where the seeds of transformation are planted. There comes a moment in every journey when the weight of limiting beliefs becomes impossible to ignore. It often arrives unexpectedly through a failure that shatters confidence, a life transition that forces introspection, or a conversation that awakens a deeper awareness. In that moment, the realization dawns. Life has not been limited by circumstances alone, but by the silent beliefs accepted as truth. It's not the world that has placed chains on the soul, it's the mind that has agreed to wear them. This moment is not always dramatic, sometimes it's quiet, like a whisper that finally breaks through the noise. A person looks around at their life and sees a disconnect between their dreams and their decisions. They recognize patterns repeating. Jobs started and abandoned, relationships formed and broken, ideas imagined but never pursued. And then the question arises, what if the problem isn't out there? What if it's in what I believe about myself? That is the turning point. It's when the illusion breaks and the power of choice is rediscovered. The person begins to trace the thread of their beliefs back to its origin. They remember a teacher who told them they weren't smart enough, a parent who planted fear instead of confidence, a culture that taught them to shrink rather than shine. And in that recognition, something sacred happens. The lie is exposed. And when a lie is exposed, it starts to lose its control. The shift is subtle at first. Maybe it's speaking up when they would have stayed silent. Maybe it's applying for something they thought was out of reach. Maybe it's simply looking in the mirror and seeing someone worthy instead of someone broken. Each small step challenges the old belief system and builds a new one. A belief not rooted in fear or past wounds, but in truth and possibility. This is the beginning of transformation. When someone reclaims authority over what they believe, they take back authority over how they live. They no longer accept inherited limits. They begin to choose their thoughts, their responses, and ultimately their future. It's not easy, but it is liberating. And once this door opens, it rarely closes, because once a person experiences the freedom that comes from a renewed belief system, they realize they were never truly trapped, just never taught how to unlock the prison of their own mind. Belief systems are the silent architects of our lives. They shape the way we think, feel, act, and interpret the world around us. Without realizing it, many people live under the influence of inherited or unconsciously formed beliefs that quietly direct their behavior and limit their potential. These beliefs are often so deeply rooted that they go unquestioned, operating like invisible scripts that dictate what is possible and what is off limits. The danger lies in how normal these thoughts feel. Over time, people adapt to these beliefs, shaping their lives around them and accepting limitations as facts rather than perceptions. The journey toward transformation begins with awareness. When someone becomes conscious of the beliefs that have been guiding their decisions, they can begin to examine them for truth. This process is both empowering and confronting. It requires a willingness to face discomfort, to look beyond the surface, and to challenge long-held assumptions. Yet it is through this process that personal growth becomes possible. Shifting a belief may not immediately change external circumstances, but it changes how one approaches life, how one responds to challenges, and how one defines success. What's most powerful about belief systems is their ability to evolve. A belief is not a permanent fixture. It can be replaced, refined, and restructured. By choosing to believe differently, people unlock new perspectives and new actions. They stop living reactively and begin living intentionally. The limits that once felt immovable begin to dissolve, revealing opportunities that were always present but previously unseen. Confidence grows, purpose clarifies, and resilience strengthens. The conclusion is clear. Your life rises or falls to the level of your beliefs. If you want to change your outcomes, you must begin by changing your internal narrative. The story you tell yourself becomes the reality you live. And the power to change that story has always been within your reach. You do not have to remain confined by beliefs that no longer serve you. The moment you choose to believe in something greater, the direction of your life begins to shift. It is in this internal shift that true transformation begins. Not just in thought, but in every part of life that belief touches. Now is the time to take an honest inventory of the beliefs that have shaped your life. Not just the ones you speak aloud, but the ones you live by, the ones that silently influence your choices, your reactions, and your dreams. Ask yourself, what do I believe about who I am? What do I believe about my worth, my abilities, and my future? Are these beliefs empowering me to grow and evolve, or are they keeping me small and uncertain? You don't have to have all the answers right now. The first step is to become curious. Begin observing your thoughts, your habits, and the stories you tell yourself. Whenever you catch a pattern that limits you, pause and ask, where did this come from? Is it true? Do I want to keep believing this? Awareness is the beginning of change. When you identify a belief that no longer aligns with the life you want to live, you have the power to challenge and replace it. Surround yourself with content people and environments that reinforce a healthier, stronger belief system. Read books, listen to voices, and engage in practices that expand your thinking. Journal your thoughts, speak affirmations out loud. Begin to train your mind to accept new truths about your identity and potential. Growth isn't always instant, but it is always possible when you stay committed to the process. Take bold steps, even if they are small. Apply for the opportunity. Start the conversation. Share your ideas. Embrace your voice. Let action become the proof of your new beliefs. Each step forward builds new momentum and rewires your confidence. This is your invitation to break free from the cycle of unconscious living. You were never meant to live trapped inside someone else's definition of what is possible. You get to decide what you believe, and in doing so, you get to decide who you become. Start today. Choose beliefs that elevate you. Choose thoughts that honor your value. Choose to see yourself not through the lens of the past, but through the vision of your highest potential. Your new life begins with a new belief. And that belief begins now.